Hi everybody, welcome to Tuesday. Jeremy Cordeaux and Peter Clayton in the Court of Public Opinion, from the garage and from the heart. Some of the things that we remember the day for. If you're having a birthday or a wedding anniversary, I hope it's going to be a very happy day. Tuesday the 7th of February. Before we get into the meaningful stuff of the day, a little frivolous stuff. 1931, on this day, American aviation pioneer Amelia Earhart. She was 33, he was 43. Well, she marries George Palmer Putnam in Connecticut. And of course, 1931, she went on to continue her career, not for a great length of time, as one of the world's most famous aviators. Or the male is the aviator and the female is the aviatrix. I don't know why. An aviatrix. How does the trix indicate female? I have no idea. Charles Dickens, the English writer, Oliver Twist, A Tale of Two Cities. Now there was a book and there was a movie, The Tale of Two Cities. Ronald Colman, I think, played the best lead, and many different attempts at making the movie, but I think that very early one with Ronald Colman was perhaps the very best. It's a far, far better peace than I have ever known. It's a far, far better rest I go to than I have ever known. Ronald Colman. I have a funny feeling he was Australian, but I'm not sure. I shouldn't say that because I don't know. But Charles Dickens, he was born in Portsmouth, 1812. The first solo flight from England to Australia takes off from Croydon, piloted by Australian aviator Bert Hinkler. He arrives 15 and a half days later, but he did get here. 1928 was the year. Harvey S. Firestone, American manufacturer and founder of the Firestone Tire and Rubber Company, dies at just 69 years of age. It was 1938, and Firestone is still around and still well thought of. President John F. Kennedy on this day in 1962 begins the blockade of Cuba by banning all Cuban imports and exports. He had put a ban on but allowed, I think, food and drugs, pharmaceuticals. But things changed a bit within days of that. And this is an interesting one. Colonial Tasmanian Parliament on this day in 1856 passes the first piece of legislation anywhere in the world providing for elections by way of a secret ballot. Interesting. And I think South Australia was the first country in the world to allow women the vote. Universal suffrage. Garth Brooks was born in the good old USSR on this day in 1990. The communists agreed to allow opposition political parties. I don't think Putin even allows opposition political parties today. Oh dear. Mind you, just because you allow an opposition political party doesn't mean that you won't go around and arrest them and shoot them and harass them. 1940, Walt Disney's second feature-length movie Pinocchio premieres, and Russell Drysdale, Australian artist. He was born back in 1912, he died in 1981. Great artist. And, oh yes, George Harrison's tonsils were removed in 1965. Imagine. To coin a phrase or a word. I was listening to the BBC on Sunday night, this worldwide overnight service that they have. Very interesting, always interesting. Keep in mind that what we're going through here in Alice Springs and throughout Central Australia is a very, very difficult time for a lot of people. And I was interested in what they're experiencing in Vancouver, in British Columbia. Beautiful Canadian city, Vancouver. Lovely. or it used to be, more correctly. They decided a while back that they were going to experiment with legalising drugs for personal use. Cocaine, heroin, MDA, fentanyl. Crime and lawlessness through the roof. Vandalism through the roof. Overdoses, the highest in Canada. The death rate, double what it used to be. Some experiment, and of course no apology from the experimenters. It reminds me a lot of the people who decided not to extend John Howard's intervention in the Northern Territory, which limited the amount of booze that was available and to whom. Did people really have to put their hand in the fire to prove that it's hot? To prove that they will burn themselves? The good people of Vancouver should do what the citizens of Alice Springs should do, and that is sue the people, whoever caused the problem in the first place. Just under 7 million people, sadly, have died, this is throughout the world, because of COVID-19. That is an extraordinary number of casualties. And this too is extraordinary. In aged care, now, I'm talking about the last year, in aged care we have lost 4 times the number of people who died at the peak of the pandemic. 4 times. And it is still killing people. So please be aware and take care. I want to talk to you in some detail about this voice thing. The Prime Minister has been quite clear. As I suggested some time ago, he basically wants a yes vote at the referendum without giving any details as to what the voice will be saying. He says, the Parliament will work out the details later. Now that's absolutely not on. It's dangerous. Dangerous. A blank cheque. A Trojan horse. It could be absolutely anything or nothing. I suspect simply that the voice is going to be saying, gimme, 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 gimme. They talk about entrenched disadvantage among Aboriginal people. I'm sorry, this is wrong, and the Prime Minister should know it. The Prime Minister would have to know, or if he doesn't, he can look up the Budget Review 2019-2020 on his own website. Briefly, if you ask, what are the benefits given to Aboriginal people? It will tell you. It will tell you. I'll quote. Over the last decade, the Productivity Commission's Indigenous Expenditure Report has consistently shown that the Commonwealth, state and territory governments per capita expenditure on Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders is approximately double per capita expenditure on non-Indigenous Australians. Double the expenditure. Was that clear enough? Prime Minister? $35 billion a year, welfare, mining rights, all tax-free. This is 3% of the population. And it is not underprivileged. It is not underrepresented in our Parliament. We just have to concentrate on the truth. The truth. There are forces at work on the left of politics who wish to completely redesign and reshape this country. Now, the Parliament can't change our Constitution. The politicians can't change our Constitution. Only we, the people, can do that. And if we sleepwalk into this, we deserve exactly what happens. And I tell you what, looking at that lot in Canberra, it could be absolutely anything, ladies and gentlemen. The deprivation about which the Prime Minister talks with regard to Aboriginal people requires not a change to our Constitution. It requires a forensic accountant to find out where the money and the largesse actually goes, because it doesn't go to the people, the Aboriginal people. That's obvious. I am sick and tired of all this stuff on the media, particularly the ABC, about Aboriginal deprivation. All of this close the gap stuff. The truth is, clearly, with $35 billion a year in welfare and mineral rights, as I've just said, more than enough money to keep 700,000 Aboriginal people in the lap of luxury. Would you please, and I'm talking to the ABC, shut up? The money is on the table. Would somebody please ask the question, where is it? Who took it? Where does the money go? The Aboriginal industry is where I believe it goes. The whole bureaucratic mess which lives off the expensive argument that goes on between black and white. And I apologise, ladies and gentlemen. I've just got to leave this alone, I know, but it's like an itch that I can't scratch. It's a sense of outrage at the sheer nonsense of it all. Now, this is going to be probably, on the subject, the most important piece of information I could give you and that you could get. So keep it in the back of your mind, please. You probably don't know, because I didn't know. I didn't until I inquired through government sources, I might tell you. Government sources. Aboriginal people in Australia have legal title to, how much land do you think? Pete, how much land do you think?
Oh, no idea, Jeremy, really, but I suspect quite a bit.
According to the government website, more than 50% of the land mass of Australia. Aboriginal people own or have legal title to more than 50% of the land mass of Australia. Now, white people, of course, would be paying taxes, land tax, rates and taxes, various water rates. God knows, would send you broke. Aboriginal people have no such burden, but they have the joy of ownership without any of the liabilities or responsibilities, it would seem. They can even dictate who puts a foot on that land. You and I can't. And they can dictate who comes on the land on the basis of race and sex. Yes, there are several places, I told you about one the other day, Mount Warning, where not even black women, let alone white women, black people only, black men, are allowed on Mount Warning, northern New South Wales. Now, if that's not racist and sexist, I have no idea what is. But they're still not happy. Now, country is very important to us all, but particularly Aboriginal people, I understand that. But how could you not be happy with 50% of the joint? 50% of the landmass that we know of is Australia. That's a lot of country. Have you ever heard anyone in the media comment or point that out before? Anyone ever told you that before? You can check it. If you don't believe me, you can go to the government website, which is www.niaa.gov.au, and have a look. Who invades and conquers a country, as the white people are being accused of course, and then gives 50% of it back with not one word of thank you? All they want, apparently, is sorry. They want to hear the word sorry, and I apologise. I want thank you. I just can't come to grips with how 3% of the population can extort such a benefit when they themselves insist that they were conquered. They lost their country. You lost, we won. Now, I've heard of losing the war and winning the peace, but this is ridiculous. But of course, this is hyperbole, because really, what I'm saying to you doesn't involve the average salt of the earth Aboriginal man or woman. All of this is brought about by the left-wing white activists who have a completely different agenda to the well-being of Black Australia. I would like Black Australia to rise up in unison with the things I'm saying and do something about getting some of the benefits that are provided. I can't remember a time when Aboriginal people have been so much in the news, mostly because of this voice thing. Suffices to say, without a Springs in the news for the wrong reasons. A small percentage of the population, a lot of media, and not good media. Now I see that the Prime Minister has decided that King Charles will not feature on the Australian currency. Now, it's been traditional for the monarch to appear on the $5 note for more than 30 years. Not that $5 is worth anything, and it shrinks probably demonstrably by the day. But anyway, it was a token. It was a token. But the decision as to who goes on the $5 note is the decision of the board of the Reserve Bank of Australia, but not in this case. This was the decision of the Prime Minister and Cabinet. The Labor Party don't hide the fact or disguise the fact that they are for a republic. This is another little step. Republicanism by stealth, I would call it. It's symbolic. The monarch on the $5 note, it's historic and symbolic. I find no problem with it myself. Thank you very much for viewing the Court of Public Opinion. I welcome your comments, I really do. Believe in yourself, and we'll talk tomorrow. I'm Jeremy Cordeaux.